Moo, and good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening, and welcome to the Pink Tron. With me tonight, Sean Fogelberg, Steph Etienne, John Keenan, and Chris Greenland. I'm going to do my best impression of Brent. The councilman isn't with us tonight, so hopefully I can think of a dodgy enough pun to link us into the first race. But before we get to that, Sean Fogelberg, what are you drinking tonight?
So, inspired by John and The Last of Us and all of that, we're going with The Fast of Us this week, and I have a Odyssey Mushroom Elixir Dragon Fruit Lemonade with lion's mane and cordyceps.
Wow.
And it's got cordyceps in. Well, speaking of cordyceps, John, you've just raced.
I
Are you
just
on
raced
button?
and I'm experimenting with the peach lime version of that, and I threw in some just fizzy water to give it a little more acid, and I've drunk most of it, so I can give it a thumbs up.
It doesn't, I just tasted it for the first time, does not taste like mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah. Lot of peach going on in this one for sure.
Steph, you've not raced this evening. Are you on the beers?
Some Fanta lemon for me
Very
tonight.
nice. Classic holiday drink. And Chris,
Delicious.
what about you? You've also raced tonight.
Yeah, I'm still on a recovery shake, to be honest. I haven't even cracked a Miller Lite yet, but I may nip out to the garage at some point and grab a few.
I'm on a soda water, and I was hoping you would be on a Miller Lite, Chris, because I was going to say a classic recovery drink for a classic race course, which is, of course,
Oh,
London Classic, our Hertzmer Racing League route tonight. John, Chris, and I have all just raced this. What was your review of the race, guys, and the course?
I liked it. I hate riding around London, and I really like racing around London. It's good fun. Took a little while to dial in that sprint since the points are what matter for HSRL, but third and fourth sprint were pretty good. Last one was just a mad dash to the finish, so kind of what I expected.
yeah. I mean, it was classic. What, 4 laps? Is that what we did? Four? So world's longest lead in with
Yeah.
the whatever Northumberland climb smeared in the middle of that, and then mostly flat, except for that one hill back up to kind of the center roundabout was a breaking point. But yeah, mostly flat roads around London, and then 4 sprints, and then the finishing sprint for 5 total efforts to the line. Um, it was fine. I mean, obviously, Steve, you were on Discord with us, Steve, John, and myself. And the one thing that I was shocked out about was with that 3 minute gap, um, the my AB lead group never caught up with the C lead group. So those races were very much separate. I thought there'd be more commingling. Um,
Yeah,
Also,
I'm
I
not.
haven't looked at the results yet, so I have no idea how everyone did.
I'm not too sure how much some people were pushing in that group, John. I felt like I've definitely raced more intervally races around London, especially in the Bullseye, in the glory days of the Bullseye, where everyone understood like it was that bit, and then you were going slow.
That
Um,
first two laps were, I think, a little spicier than I was expecting for sure. It I feel like after that second lap, and there was the in-game discussion of what a points race is, that things settled down a little bit.
You know,
yeah,
Joel.
we did have someone getting a bit spicy in the chat at Scott because he kept attacking at the sprint banner and then stopping, and we had to explain it was a points race. So yeah, it was. Yeah, it's an interesting course, like you say. I think Chris has identified the 2 points. I think there's maybe 3 points where again, it's one of those routes where you can get dropped by not paying attention. So the kind of classic regathering after the sprint, and then the two little climbs that Chris has mentioned, I think are the points where if somebody does something and you're not paying attention, you can get dropped off the back. But otherwise, it's stay in the bunch, stay in the draft. Now try and work out where the best point to hit that sprint is, really, isn't it? This course.
Well, I wonder if the reason the AB group didn't catch the Cs. There were 21 Cs at the start, although maybe one of them was just there for entertainment and wasn't actually in the group. And Chris, your AB group was smallish, so I don't know if that was just enough for us to keep the speed difference up.
Yeah, could be. I think we were 12
Well,
altogether there.
And it looks like the difference was maybe 30 seconds by the end.
yeah,
We
could
were-
definitely see them.
Yeah.
And there were at least two A's that came screaming through, fire socks on. At some
Yeah,
point.
that really did for me. They caught us at that turn before the climb, and a few
Mhm.
people tried to hang on, and I needed that climb to just be fairly tempo and not an all-out
Yeah.
effort. I
Yeah,
was
the big
able
group
quite
really
nicely.
wanted that.
I was
Sorry.
quite fortunate. Chris's group were close enough behind that I could completely shut down for about a kilometer and do 0.5 watts per kilogram until they caught me, and then follow them through the sprint to hopefully get my prime time a bit faster. But yeah, bike choice. It's got to be slipperiest Hero, hasn't it? He says, having just done it on a Tron.
Yeah, it should be that way, but it wasn't.
Yeah, fastest arrow, and not just because it's a sprint, it's a downhill sprint. So this is really all about top speed.
Yeah.
Speaking of what, like, you guys were talking about, it took you a while to get the sprint dialed in. What was the ideal kind of sprint point? Are you ramping it up beforehand? What was for getting a good time? What was the approach?
So as someone who hasn't figured out sprints, I guess I would ask the question, when is a good time? Because I feel like the group was not hitting it until the start line. Like there was no bumping of watts per kg until after the start line, really. And I was kind of pushing it fast at about the 300-meter sign. And I think this one starts right at 200. And I'd be off the front by the time the start, but by the time I crossed the start line. So that first sprint I was just pushing the wind all the way until the group caught up to me halfway through the sprint and blew past me. But I did not have the top speed of that. So yeah, I hung back as much as I could, but again, on the second one, I didn't do that good a job. I think it took me the third try before I could really get all the way back in the group, wait till I hit almost the front of that sprint line, and then just push it as hard as I could. And those seem to be the most successful on the points.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
looking at
think
the
that's-
results now. Like John, you had a fourth and then a fifth and then two consecutive thirds, and
Yeah,
your time got significantly better. So
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely figured it out.
Yeah, there's some useful flagpoles on the left, which are quite good to line up the sprint. I think the what I didn't get right, and I think what you need to be trying to do the best time is to be sprinting through the group to sort of emerge from the group as you cross the line. And every time I just caught the group. So I was dropping back too much or not sprinting fast enough, whichever way you want to look at it. But yeah, there's some good points to line up on as well there. Chris, what was your tactic?
I was just lucky to still remain in the group, to be honest, because with the A's in that group, they were pushing up that hill to get back up to the flat. So there were a couple of times where I was just lucky to tag back onto the end in time for the sprint. So just go when everybody else went. So for that group, it ended up being about the 250, 275 meter mark when people really started to get after it. So really just stick in as best I could. That was my tactic.
Cool. Sean, Steph, are you planning to race?
This was a
Yeah, go.
great week for me. I'm definitely going to do Climber's Gambit. I'm deciding on whether or not to jump into this tomorrow.
Do it.
How about you, Steph?
Maybe normally weekends is usually my endurance work, but we'll see how the weather goes.
Cool. We'll quickly go through herd beginner racing as we've only got limited John Keenan time today. So herd beginner racing is our it's newly changed beginner racing series, which now enables Cat D and Cat C to join, but only if your watts per kilogram is 2.3 to 2.6. I got that right?
Is that added? Has
No,
that
no,
been-
no.
Added yet. I think it might still be Cat D. I'm just going to read Nathan's post. You can join as a C if your watts per kilogram is 2.3 to 2.6, D if your watts per kilogram is 1.7 to 2.3, or E if your watts per kilogram is less than 1.7. Recommend you get a Zwift Power account so you can go and see the results. It doesn't matter what happens in game, the results are there. And it's 2 laps of the Two Bridges Loop, which is an amazing course. I absolutely love it as a little warm-up course. This is where you do a little bit of the reverse KOM, isn't it? And then duck off to the left. So there is a little bit of a climb in this one. So yeah, exciting course this.
Yeah, it's a good beginner course. You start with the S's and they'd make a loop and then go up the steep part of the hilly reverse, but you go down the bypass. I think you need 2 laps for the lowest and 3 for the 2 highest categories, but it's a nice beginner race to see how well you do. And I expect that that steep part is going to be the crucial part for beginner races.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a case of you can actually draft the first little bit of that climb a little bit, and then you're just going to have to go all out at the top on the really steep bit. And the only advice I give people is sometimes you can actually catch back up to a group. So if you hit it on the descent, you might get the super tuck and the group might not. So if you can get up to 57 kph or whatever that is in miles per hour, you get the super tuck, go a bit faster. You can rest if you're doing 0 watts. You might catch back onto the group there. So yeah, cool course. Go check it out. Let's move on equally speedily then to, I think it's Climbers Gambit. Chris, what have we got this week?
Right, you are, Stephen. Yes. Honestly, I have no idea. I have to go back and look at my post.
I think it's Fox Hill. Looking at your
Fox
post.
Hill. That sounds
Backwards
right.
box.
Backwards box equals Fox. Yeah, relatively short one this week. We're in and out of the Fox Hill climb at 6K total. So feel like, Sean, if you want to come out tomorrow for Climbers Gambit, it's a good one to do the double and have a hard day on your recovery week. So as a reminder, this is just the hill matters.
Sorry, Chris. You were saying.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. You are actually 2.7K gets you to the base of the hill. You clip the top and out at the blue banner at 6. So come on out and have some fun this weekend.
Yeah, this is definitely not one to get your warm up in on course.
Can be.
Well, yeah, it depends if you're
Early 20s, I think it's fine.
the times should be so first it's, as Chris mentioned in the post, the average grade is 4.7%. But that is quite deceptive because there is almost 500 meters or so, at least 3, yeah, somewhere in that range, that is downhill or flat at the end. So the first 2/3, 1.7K or so is on average probably 7%. So definitely one to be careful about there. Make sure that you're pacing it for the hard part. And then I think that this is not one where you want to like even pace and try and get the max power that you can do for the entire time. You want to do the max power to the crest and then recover a bit and hold, if you can hold threshold on that flat part at the top, and that's all you can do, it probably means you paced it right.
And
does this one have that disorienting view where it pulls out at the end of the finish line, or is it that only on the forward Box Hill direction?
I think
I don't remember.
both sides.
Both sides do that?
I think so. Voxel does it, but Foxhill I'm not quite sure, but I think so.
And the
So
conversation I always enjoy the most about Climbers Gambit is, of course, which bike.
I think
It's, but mainly because I'm intrigued as to why sometimes a time trial bike is the quickest bike to go up a hill on.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Don't
I think
don't
this one probably is Tron, because there is like so much time to be gained or lost on the steeper climb part. Um, that's going to be most of the time that you spend on the climb.
And you
Uh,
don't think you think a climbing bike's too non-aero for the last few hundred meters?
yeah, and you're not that much lighter. You're not going to gain that much time on that climb part,
Mm.
probably. In terms of times, the fast A's can probably do this in 5-ish minutes. B's in 6-ish. Fast C's in 7-ish, which would, fast D's probably in 8-ish. So
yeah, and right before, remember there are a few steeper parts, especially that crest one where you go in the downhill. I know that it goes up to like the 10-ish percent. So indeed.
And what sort of times do we think we'll do in this? Is about a 10-minute climb?
glad to hear you were listening, Steve.
I got really excited that Brent had joined the call and completely tuned out.
Yeah, so fastest A is probably in the 5-minute range, slowest D is probably in the 9 or 10-minute range, but about for the fastest parts of each category, probably a minute difference. So 5, 6, 7, 8.
Good stuff. And a potential to do the double this week as well with a relatively short one, Chris, as well. So some maniacs out there, I'm sure will give that a go.
Yep, you're welcome, everybody.
Right, that takes us on to the herd of mountain goats, which is ever a mystery, but apparently might be Road to Skye. So enjoy those 21 bends. Pick your best climbing bike. That's about all I can say about that.
Yeah, and this one's definitely a TT climbing bike.
Just as a reminder, Herd of Mountain Goats is draft enabled, so if you turn up on your TT bike, you will not win, even though there's not much draft.
Unless you're scorekeeper, you might be able to pull that one off.
I do remember a race a few years ago when the CDA had gone up and people were discussing whether it was worth a team mountain bike attack on the lead-in through that gravelly section to swap onto climbing bikes. We're going to say bye to John. He's popping off the call. He looks like he's taking a call. I think hopefully that's the mushroom sponsorship for the podcast. But if it isn't, we'll still be here next week. So yeah, I do remember a few years ago. Yeah, it must have been when the CDA was higher, the rolling resistance. Before the rolling resistance changes, the people were talking about a potential mountain bike attack on the lead-in to swap onto a climber, which is the kind of madness I can exactly get behind. Yeah, fingers crossed that's what the route actually is. As we know with the mountain goats, it's always a bit of mystery. We're never too sure. Which takes us all the way back to the Stampede. Is the Bullseye still on hiatus, I think? So the Stampede this week, I'm going to leave a gap for Brent to chime in.
Stampede is going to be 23 kilometers on RGV. So it's flat. Basically, it's long enough to go across the aqueduct, but I think it ends right at the start of before you get to like the hilliest part of the intestines.
Yeah,
You're definitely, I think, in the intestines.
the full course is 25, including the lead-in. So just 2K from the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I
and the
think is
last,
just that's the hilliest part of the intestines at the end, basically, right? Because that
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
what I was thinking.
the last big
I
lump is
think-
the 1K mark. So
Yeah,
you get all
yeah,
the
I was
belong
about to say.
fields, but
That's a really interesting TT course then, isn't it? Because you've got a difficult bit of pacing at the end. Because the fastest way through those intestines is not going to be threshold. It's going to be a bit of over-unders, which at the end of a time trial effort, always what you want, isn't it?
It actually says the elevation gate is 133 meters, which I find.
That doesn't sound.
And all of that is in basically from the aqueduct onwards, because before that you have like 10 meters of elevation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound right, given that the
Yeah.
Zwift Insider course says that it's 107 for the full route, but
Maybe I've done
Okay.
something wrong here. Hang on, let me push some more buttons. I'm actually updating the event. That's why I looked right in the event, but
I've seen that course a bit too much with
That's
ladder
what it
racing
said.
lately, but
anyway, I don't know why that's saying that, but that's what it's telling me. That sounds crazy, but anyway.
if it ends where we think it should end, it'll probably be somewhere in the 90.
yeah, I was about to say 80,
90.
90 meters.
Okay. Well, maybe there is another 40 meters of climbing at the end. I don't know.
Most importantly, Brent, what are you drinking tonight? Feel like we've missed that vital step. Chris has actually cracked open something alcoholic, as I think everyone else has done. Was yours alcoholic, Sean?
No, it's highly caffeinated, so
Oh yeah, I
Sure,
got a coffee mug that has like one slurp of cold coffee. That's literally my day today. I haven't
all
left
had
my
those days.
office since like 9:30 this morning. I've been sitting at this desk taking phone calls and all the other things we want to do on Zwift to avoid having to do this. But anyway.
Right, then
Hopefully
let's
I'm
move on
making
to round the horn. Speaking of Zwift and fun things we'd rather be doing, new roads on Zwift. Sean, you were saying you've had a bit of a people round. Any of the rest of you had a go on the new roads yet?
Yeah, I did a little spin yesterday as well on the coastal crown route, the shortest one. Yeah, it's a fun,
yeah, that coastal
interesting.
is beautiful.
Yeah,
they've added.
it's gonna be with the 2 KOMs. It's quite interesting. The first one is quite steady, and the second one is all over the place. But it's indeed beautiful, nice scenery, lots of different types of things. Yeah,
It is, I think, going to be, and I just sent this out to Marjuline just before we got on here. I think that this route is going to be one that will be a great HSRL route. You've got the 2 sprints and 2 KOMs per lap.
yeah,
With the 2 new KOMs, including a KOM finish. And it's 15K laps. So, a 2-lapper would be of 30 something K, depending on how long the lead in is. Like 5K.
Yeah, the lead-in is 5K, but that's from, I think, the last sprint. So probably you go, if you start a race, I assume you probably go with the new pants at the bottom of the great climb. So we're probably looking at maybe 8K lead-in. So on the lead-in you have like 2 sprints and a climb already. So if you do 2 laps, I think you have like 6 sprints and 4 KOM segments. So
yeah, this
I
one,
think
it's unclear exactly where the lap banner is for it.
it's on the KOM. The first KOM segment is the lap banner.
Oh, the first KOM. So if you do,
Yeah. You do the 2 sprints, I think, on the lead-in, and
and the first.
yeah, the first KOM. Well, technically, you only do one. No.
Yeah, that looks.
2 sprints because you start right before the first sprint. I think that's the Acropolis sprint. But
Yeah,
if you do,
for the route, if you're racing it, you will do both of those sprints and the first KOM on the lead-in, and then the
yeah,
lap will have the second KOM, the 2 sprints, and then the first KOM. So if you did 2 laps, it would actually be, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like
Six-
5
six-
KOMs.
and yeah, 5 KOMs, but only 4 segments, and because that last one is going to be your finish, your finishing position, because
But
it's
also 6
yeah,
sprints.
yeah,
So
6 sprints. Yeah, and assume with the lead in, it's going to be probably around 30, closer to 40, I guess. I don't know exactly. I think it's about 8-9 kilometers if you calculate it from the grades. Depends at the bottom of the grades towards that first, when you first cross the first KOM, it's going to be, I think, 8-9 kilometers. So about if you do 2 laps, it's about a bit lower than 40K with, yeah, like you said, 10 segments. So it's going to be a fun one, especially with that KOM combo, because you finish the first KOM and 700 meters after that you start your second KOM. So yeah.
one of the things that will be really interesting for racing on that course is after that KOM, you immediately hit a 15% descent.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see what pack dynamics look like. The groups are not likely to be especially compact at that point. So it could be that you've just got a bunch of individual riders, super tucking their way down, and then the regroup happening back down on the coast, or people pushing to keep those groups broken up. Chris, you've done the descent on this, yeah?
Yeah, I did it a couple of times. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of really cool routes on there. I've just put in the chat. I'm going to hopefully ask Sean to put the link to the Zwift Insider article in the show notes. You can go check this out. Load of fun new routes, load of fun new climbs. A load of those routes look really good for various types of races on, don't they? Which is it's really exciting. And what I'm particularly enjoying is for how many laps of O'Hill No we're going to do as a crescendo of a Herd Summer Racing League. Probably, I don't know, 8 laps of O'Hill No or 10 for an 80K race or something bonkers like that. It will be something suggested at some point, no doubt.
Yeah, that's gonna be bonkers, because that's gonna be 10 laps is 80K with like 3,000 meters of elevation, so it's gonna be bonkers.
Yeah, we're gonna need more beer for that one. A curious choice, Steph, you mentioned it originally in our side chat, but splitting up those 2 KOMs that are essentially less than a K apart from each other on that side road. What is a little bit curious to me, especially with the routes that are created here, because ideally we can combo those into a 1-2 punch into a climber's gambit, but the way these courses are, I can't, given the restrictions that Zwift Power has on timing and scoring, I can't do that, because there are also sprint segments littered in before those 2 climb segments on every route that is now part of Zwift.
You can't just sum the times on particular.
It's either all or one. There's you can't identify KOMs versus sprints when you ask it to aggregate timing, which limits what we can do when you go to write a schedule with combo hill times or hill repeats. Like it can't be polluted with a sprint segment in there. It has to be just a polka dot banner. So just curious the way it was written. So ideally, it would have been nice if it was one longer hill. That way we could definitely race it. I can choose to do, I mean, even if, yeah, I could, more to come on that. We'll definitely do the grade though. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah, yeah. I suggested it because, like you said, it's a curious case that it's like Jeff mentioned in our Facebook Messenger chat. It's a curious one why they split it. Then especially the second, yeah, the first KOM is a nice one, and the second one, it's a KOM, but it's a really weird in pacing strategy because you go up, then you go down, you go up a bit, down. It's totally irregular. That second one, but I didn't know that that the restrictions about the not having sprint segments before it, because like you said, I don't think there's any of the routes that all the routes I think go start around those around the start of the grade or before that, so you have to go through those 2 sprints. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a KOM. I like how that's what they named it, just to convince you that that's what it is, because it's pretty rolly, right? You definitely, it's a net climb in Brent speak, but it is a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit twisty.
I mean, to be fair, it's I would say it's harder than the first climb of the two.
Yeah.
The second half of it, there is a K at like 5%. It's
Yeah,
just
there's
a lot of rolling to begin with.
yeah, it's definitely heavier backward at the back end. There's some steep section in that first one is a nice, good one. If you can set it, your tempo, you can do like I did it. I did some efforts yesterday on it. I think the first one I did just over 4.5 minutes. That's 3.6, which is basically on my PB-ish tempo. So no, I did it quite well, but that's one is a nice paceable one. But the other one, it's a bit trickier to find out how you deal first with those. I wouldn't call them rollers, but the up and downs, and then from halfway up, halfway through the climb, then it's more continuous climbing towards the finish, where you have last like the 300 meters flattens out and goes a bit downhill-ish anyway, a bit. So yeah.
I do think that this is a really great setup for racing. There's going to be some really good racing on these courses. In particular, there are 3 event-only routes that have been added. It's a climb finish, it's a party, and the Mayan San Remo, all of which include the combo of these 2 climbs, and the first 2 of which finish at the top of that second climb, but have really long lead-ins and go through a lot of the sprints. I think they'll be it's a party we've talked about. That's going to be the Summer ZRL route where we do a scratch race, and that's going to be a really interesting and potentially great route for things like HSRL as well. Starts with Zwift KOM right out of the gate. Go around and do Titans Grove reverse, the steep side, or the shorter, steeper side. Then you go along the coast, do 4 sprints, and then you finish with that combo of climbs. And because that second climb does get harder the closer you get to the finish, I do think that that's going to be a really fun race course.
Did it finish on the second climb? I thought it only finished on that first KOM. Okay.
It's in the name.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be it's not a party.
Yeah.
Excitingly, I like the fact that Zwift has said they want to hand it over to the community and the race organisers. So I think they're going to be available. They say end of week. I'm not really sure what that means when everyone has the update available to them. So
Yeah.
whether that's this weekend, whether that's Monday, keep an eye out. But yeah, it'd be exciting to see what happens. Excitingly,
Yeah.
also in this update, the Epic KOM has a new KOM atop it, doesn't it? The radio tower segment is now a KOM. So I one more time finally to go and do that just to complete that segment. Q Herd of Mountain Goats. Oh no, Climbers Gambit. They'll definitely be going. We'll definitely be going back there with a herd event, won't we? To make us hammer the primes.
You know, I'm a little sad that there are no routes that that go to the top of the radio tower KOM. I think I saw something that there might be additional and you know, don't quote me on this. I don't even remember where I saw it, but that this maybe doesn't have all of the event only routes. And I think I saw one that did go from the coast all the way up to the radio tower. So up the grade, up the Epic, and then up the radio tower. And that would be maybe the most brutal, the most brutal climb.
Yeah, sadly, none of the new routes include that. But the classic wild
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I saw something, and I'll have to go back and look again, that there might be additional event only routes that are not listed on this.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But
like
I
a
mean,
hidden
this
menu?
opens up doing, is it the not hilly route, the mountain route with a custom finish at the top of the radio tower, doesn't it? As a mini race event. So yeah, all very exciting.
Yeah, and like you said, so it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be in event organizer soon, because I saw a post on the Ladder League website that the new routes are being enabled, or are be able to be choose for ladder races as well. So they're gonna implement them quite fast.
Well, exciting. It'd be good to see some races out and about happening on those new segments, on those new routes. Hopefully some of them herd races. Be good to hear what everyone thinks about them, really, won't they? And it's a good point for us really to wrap up. So Sean's got one more thing.
One more piece of information that came out in this update that I think is really funny. So they've got the, you know, new Epic KOM scenery, and when announced, it was like, you know, new ice elements, rocks, various frozen assets, refreshed terrain work. And then if you're chasing a PR on the Epic KOM, be warned, Zwift changed the road surface to ice and snow on the upper portion of the climb, which increases the rolling resistance and reduces your speed. And then June 12th update on the text above. Zwift has informed us they'll be removing the new ice and snow surfaces that were added to the upper portion. So they put it out, and then they said, never mind.
It is all struck through on that Zwift Insider article.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story behind that. But anyway, I'm getting shot daggers by my wife, so I need to go. I'm going to say good night to Sean Bogerberg, Steph Etienne, Chris Greenland, Brent Robinson, and everyone else. Thank you and good night. See you all out there.
Thanks.
Good luck, Steve.